My presentation, this is, of course, the third International Student Conference organized by the Inters of the UNESCO Share Intercultural Policy for an Activity, Citizenship, and Solidarity of the University of Macedonia. My presentation, the title of my presentation is Mile Cities Mid-Network Collaboration with Other UNESCO Networks, Pillars for the Media Information Literacy, Mile Cities, the Future of Urban Space. I am Professor Felipe Chivas Ortiz, Associate Professor, University of São Paulo, and International Co-Leader of Innovation Group of UNESCO Mil Alliance. We got these topics, theoretical basis of Mile Cities, challenges, strategies, and solutions, methodologies, research, experience, promotions, events, publications, and final considerations. That's the last book about Mile Cities. We published this book in this year. Well, we got this post-human reality, you know. Let me ask you, do you see this situation in your city? And you see too? Oh, you see this situation in your city? Yes, we got now a post-human reality with this situation in our cities. But we need solutions. We got post-human families, right? With humans, animals, robots, and cyborgs, metaverse, and AI. We got generative AI can lead to an increase in the number of online attacks against women. This is very concerned situation too. But we got some common challenge to campus from universities and cities. For example, social inequality, ecological crisis, urbanization, and mobility challenge, technocratic and technologizing vision, and the objective of public policies and education is not to form citizens. This is very concerned situation because we need citizens. Young people need to critical thinking. According our dear colleague Divina from Mix, we need for the transformation of the cities three cultures. We need citizenship culture, we need navigation culture too, and data protection culture. The solution for us is media and information literacy. Media and information literacy is considered a combined set of skills, but also practical convergence, where journalists, information specialists, libraries, educators, among others, and their related activities meet. Media is considered essential for citizen participation, good governance, intercultural, and interfaith dialogue. But what is a Mile City? Media and information literacy city. Mile City is a framework developed by UNESCO, our urban space that can use artificial intelligence and other new technology, but with ethic, respect for diversities, organic empowerment of every citizen, and educating critical and creative thinking. This framework has synergies or includes other, such as sustainable cities, smart cities, healthy cities, educational cities, and others. It's the last paradigm, the starting point. This is very important starting point. Mile City approach has been inserted in the vision of the 2030 agenda, especially sustainable cities and communities, 11 objectives. We got metrics for Mile Cities, we got indicators, the system of 13 Mile Cities indicators and 262 metrics. We got metrics like city hall, roads, integral education, integral health, culture, libraries, environment and sustainability, the 12 children and other vulnerable groups, artificial intelligence, of course, a startup and digital challenge. This is the differential of this model. we got metrics, we got indicators to evaluate the city and the citizens. Systems with that. This framework is too very important. Many cities work with the 5 main agents of the technological and the social innovation. There are governments, academic, of course, professors, researchers, and students, of course, companies, enterprise, but basically the technological enterprise. We need to talk with them. Artists, of course, artists are the soul of the city. Citizens, the simple citizens. This is the beginning, the process, and the final of everything, the citizens. We got different indicators. For example, City Hall, and we got the metrics in the right number, for example, number and percentage of public service offered by the city of the City Hall that are digitized. Number and percentage of people in the city who resolve their problems with the City Hall online. This is metrics, our metrics. We got here an example, the comparative without Rome, Mexico, and Sao Paulo. We work with this method. This method is the comparative method, and we can see better the city. We got other indicators like AI, others. We got many experience and many meetings because nobody grows alone. We need to grow together with different peoples, different countries, and different things. Well, we got a very great recommendation on draft of global standard for media and information literacy. We work here with 40 specialists for different countries in Belgrade. Of course, with the General Director of UNESCO, Mrs. Aurea Soleil. These competence are the curriculum, meal curriculum from UNESCO. We got here 20 competence or abilities. For example, evaluate critically ethical use of information, creativity and digital entrepreneurship, and others. We got here the principal values of UNESCO curriculum, intercultural dialogue and interreligious dialogue, understanding universal rights, sustainable development, and peace. This book is a guide for us for the transformation of the cities and for the transformation of the school and universities. We do this system with artificial intelligence to evaluate professor, this competence with the professors. And we do this study in Argentina with professors from Argentina because UNESCO asked for us. I do this research with Sebastian Nowomiński. He's the director, capacitation director from the public defender from Argentina, and other researchers. And the principal result of this open research was only 32 teachers use video games in their class, and 34 have never used it. This result and other results speak about the different purpose, the different use of the internet, of course, and different capacity and ability of this professor. And we do, with this result, a prevision of the development of his capacity and competence. Well, we got to this important slide because we follow and we develop a new initiative, Mill University City. This university, this campus, can be a Mill University City. But what is this? A Mill University City is a university that applies the 13 indicators and metrics of the mill cities on its campus, which follows the use of new technologies and innovation of its campus, but with ethics, respect for diversities, and seeking to apply. But this this framework is very important to the transformation for the universities, because our universities have many challenges today. For example, we need peace, we need dialogue, we need critical thinking to analyze fake news, to analyze deep fakes, to analyze the reality. Cities aspiring to become mild cities. Example, Helsinki, Bedford, Glasgow, Roma, but to Havana, Cuba, Baradero, Quilimani, and Puebla. The mild city approach is not technological approach. We got here a transdisciplinary approach with data science, of course, but social science too. It's not necessarily a big city or big university, not necessary too. Well, we developed with the UNESCO the implementation of mixed city metrics application. We have every month these webinars about UNESCO mill cities with professional authors of around the world, together with Professor Veronica Yarlin, organize mensual webinars too with mid-city networks. Weekly webinars about mill cities with, this is in Brazil, only in Brazil, these other webinars with my team. We work together with the Caribbean people. This is Paul Hector, Dr. Paul Hector. He is the specialist of mill cities on media information literacy in the Caribbean, Dr. Paul Hector, and other specialists, other experts about mill. Mill city network, some results, some issues. 2021, 2025. International webinars, this number, countries, experts, books. Well, we got two aspiring to mill cities hour. This hour is the inspiration for many people. This is the inspiration for the cities. And we got here, for example, 5 mayors from Brazil in Havana, Cuba, to aspiring to transform their cities in mild cities. We got here the presentation in the Complutense University of Madrid about mild cities too. We work together, of course, with the young people, the students. Young people are the future. Young people are the transformation of the cities, and the real transformation of the city. We work together in every moment. This is a meeting, an important meeting with Mr. Arton Grizzly and other members of ESZ. We got here the monitoring center of different cities, Quilimani in Africa, Mozambique, Africa, Guarulhos in São Paulo City, and in Havana too. We got, this is a very important point for us, pilot point of mill cities, because with pilots, the people feel the experience, feel the concept. It's not theory, it's not books like this, from smart cities to mild cities. I recommend this book. This book is recommended in the UNESCO site, official UNESCO site from Paris. And this book have authors of 20 countries of the 5 continents. Back here. This experience, pilot point in mild cities, is in the school, art school. And in this point, we show the Mill Cities approach, the different metrics in the practice. We got here different with low-cost technologies. It's important too. This point is important. Low-cost technology, and we have here different course about art, about the indicators with this approach. We do this in Zaragoza, Spain, here in Europa too. This is in a co-working, and we got here the metrics and the indicators implemented. We got Mill Cities International event circuit around the world, in Macau, China, in Havana, in Jamaica, in Antigua, Barbuda, in Mexico, Monterrey, and around the world about these points. Mill City approach. We work together with Unique National University, in Macau, China, about this point. 11 objective of 2030 agenda. Well, we got a work too with Mr. Tafik Yalassi, Assistant Director General of Communication and Information, UNESCO Paris. This is in very important event for UN. We work together. We got these books from smart cities to mild cities in open source. These books are in the official site of UNESCO. Marketing, communication, technology, and innovation in the mild cities, and other books. In these books, we got authors around the world. Well, this is other book, Navigating the Infodemic with Mill. What is infodemic? Infodemic is the pandemic of information. Pandemic of information with disinformation, misinformation, post-truth, of course, fake news, deep fakes. This is infodemic. Infodemic is a word created by who? We work together with, for example, Paula Lima. Paula Lima is a singer, a very famous singer in Brazil. She is our ambassador, Mill City ambassador. Miss Luisa Helena Trajano is the most important entrepreneur in Brazil, and she is to our Mill Cities ambassador. And we create two Mill Women, a program of TV about these topics. We got to this declaration, Mill Cities Declaration of São Paulo for the Planet, with the participation of authorities, public policy managers, researchers, activists, and of different countries. We implemented two Mill Cities paradigm in the course of the PROLAN, Latin American Integration Program at the University of São Paulo. This is a stricto sensu plan. We create this center, International Center for Innovation and Development of Mill Cities from University of São Paulo. We got 4 lines of research and action. Mill Cities, of course, communication and education, integrative health, and artificial intelligence with media and information literacy. Well, the course, we got different outputs or issues like advice, consultancy, mentoring, applications, and others. That's I talk about it in City Metrics application. We developed this application with support of UNESCO, the UNESCO Paris. This is other methodology. We use this methodology to diagnosis of the universities, campus universities, cities, neighborhoods, or other urban space. Methodology of 20 cultural barriers to communication and 5 dimensions of creativity. This methodology is recommended by UNESCO, the site by UNESCO, and the books about this thing. Research, we use this this methodology in 11 countries, in Spain too, in the United States, in different countries. We got this proposal too, a new project, the translation on Arabic of this book, From Smart Cities to Mild Cities, in the vision of UNESCO. My final consideration, quick. Mild Cities is considered an evolution, an innovation too, and contextualization of the general theory of Mild Cities is a transdisciplinary and integrative approach. We got here, for example, architects, we got data science specialists, we got every profession, because the city needs everybody. Well, the Mild Cities is too a holistic and integrative approach that offers indicators and metrics. This is a comparative methodology. This point is very important because show the strong points and weak points of the cities. Mild Cities is also a practical approach in the addition of action research methodology. We research, of course, but we transform the city too. Mild Cities pilot point can be places where ordinary citizens feel the experience, the ideals or the insights of Mild Cities. It's important, the participation of citizens in this experience. It's not experience only for educators, researchers. No, it's for the people, the simple people, the common sites. Well, finally, this approach promotes prosperity in the world and, of course, the transformation of the cities and the urban space. And my final words are these words from Mr. Arthur Asley, Director General of UNESCO. UNESCO has implemented the WIPOC Declaration by promoting new transparency principles for online platforms, conducting research on sustainable business model for the media, and paying particular attention to media and information literacy in education systems. Thank you so much for your attention, and that's my contact. Please, you can photograph my final contact, and I stay here for your questions and your contributions. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my gratitude to the committee, the University of Macedonia, and the Hellenic National Commission of UNESCO for the honor they gave me to present to you the efforts of the Directorate of Education, Youth Long Life Learning, and Employment of the Municipality of Therni. My name is Fisiki Matsuda, and I have been appointed as the head of the department since 2019. I'm not an expert to talk or present any actions or project concerning this forum, like the professor, but I can inform you on our efforts to provide a well-built, sustainable environment for the citizens of our municipality. Therni is a learning city, a member of the international network of UNESCO's learning cities since 2017, and under this guiding principle, we have been running certain projects which I would like to refer to with some examples for the period 2019 onwards. The Department of Education of the municipality, with the support of other public and private sector organizations, is frequently organized webinars and in-person consulting programs for parents and students. The subjects of orientation of those webinars and consultation were vary from sex education and identity to sexual orientation, private sessions for parents and students for school issues, inclusion matters, women's rights and equality, and others. Our municipalities core mentality is to treat people equally, especially when it comes to terms with gender basis. This is why, additional to the public educational system, we have created a special committee of gender equality in order to promote equity between all the genders. As a result, we have big rates of women and girls' participation in our youth council. In collaboration with 3 other municipalities, the Youth Council of Therni, Hellenic Society for Local Development and Self-Government, the National Kapodistrian University of Athens, and ActionAid, we are active members to the European program Cities for Health. The main pylon of the project is to promote gender equality in our city. Second, another project concerning the women's equality and value in today's society is the implementation of a program we have been running under the title The Human Through Time. In this context, we are attempting to capture artistically stories, experiences, memories and feelings of the invisible women of the municipality of Therni and their connection with the younger women. Through workshops, meetings are being organized by young girls of the council of our municipality. We attempt to record the testimonies and the narratives of the photography, and the photo books will also be created and issued. The municipality has also developed mechanisms to keep citizens informed about the long life learning opportunities. It's our duty and responsibility to inform citizens about the upcoming lectures and courses and aid our citizens through with the procedures, application forms, programs that meet their needs and demands, find the places where those programs take place that are easily approachable, and etc. That is being achieved by the use of electronic means, by web, or by the old school classic methods. We create posters that are distributed through our local community offices and citizens information centers. For those who are in use of the service of internet accountments through our official municipality's website, through our Learning City blog, and all the social media accounts that our offices and departments maintain, focus on informing our citizens about the courses, the webinars, and the events that are organized. Our next goal is to create the free app so that citizens will be automatically informed and apply for the educational programs directly. In collaboration with the Community Center of Thermi, self-awareness campaigns, speeches, and group sessions for living experiences in various fields are constantly being implemented. Such fields are free breastfeeding classes in order to support and encourage women who recently gave birth. Through the classes, scientific views, but also living experiences are being promoted. Alzheimer's disease, awareness and test for the elderly, the benefits of workout and exercise in our daily lives, environmental education with the aid of the Center of Environmental Education and Sustainability at the Livadi Ferry. Moreover, self-awareness campaigns for health and mental issues are taking place each and every year in our municipality concerning various health issues. Some of them are breast cancer prevention, anti-smoking campaign, physical or psychological violence, domestic violence. Finally, with the collaboration of the Civil Protection Department of the Municipality of Thermi, we organize and support first and training seminars for young people, but also for all of our citizens are being held by means of physical presence or online webinars. Some of the subjects are how to treat a wound, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, how to use a defibrillator, what should we have into our first aid kit. Another project we are implementing is called Creation of a Network of Schools of Democracy. Through counseling and strengthening the participation and active citizenship of higher education school students. With the project counseling, empowerment, participation, and consultation meetings will be implemented. The aim of the application is to strengthen the student councils, 5 members and 15 members of the second and first grade schools, and their role within the school community. The ultimate goal is to enhance citizenship and the active participation of students in order to create a network of schools for democracy in the municipality. This network aims to find a common ground of communication in order to reduce problems in schools. The specific counseling services will be implemented using the sociocratic circular method. This method is addressed to various types of groups, organizations, agencies, and networks, and contributes to inclusion and equal participation, consensus decision-making, and effective meetings. Last but certainly not least is the establishment of our Youth Council in 2019. The Youth Council is open to people aged 15 to 29 who live and or work in the region of Thermi. One of the innovations we are introduced concerning the democratic function and operation of the Council is based on the idea of sociocracy, learning circles, under which decisions are being made through consensus. I can provide you with further details concerning the function, but it's not the present time to do so. Our goal is to empower young people at the local level and help them take actions about critical subjects that are their concern by submitting an action plan and the budget of specific projects to the municipality. Local circles were created in each of 14 villages that comprise the region of Thermi. The Youth Council is consisted by representative members for each local communities. The aims of the Youth Council of Thermi are the following. The participation and governance. One of the main objectives of the Youth Council is to actively involve young people in the community and to learn about participatory decision-making. In this context, active citizenship events have been organized throughout the whole period from its creation, and also volunteering local service activities such as blood donations and blood collections. Taking care of the environment. The youth generation is very aware and active on environmental issues. Our Youth Council undertakes a series of actions aimed at protecting an environment such as tree planting, recycling activities, participation in environmental conferences, and we intend to expand our actions in this ongoing struggle to protect our planet. The culture. Cultural activities can be found in every aspect of our daily lives. The Youth Council of the Municipality of Thermi, knowing the benefits of organized cultural activities, both of its members and for the local community, organize annual music festivals, graffiti events, and many other similar actions. The human rights. Our directorate, with the aid of our Youth Council, is holding out a series of formative workshops, actions, and projects under the scope of equality amongst all people. That is being achieved with the continuous collaboration we have with certain other entities of the civil society, such as ActionAid. The social solidarity. The purpose of these actions is to promote the idea of self-improvement, mutual aid, and the self-activity of the citizen. To achieve this, it must be based, first of all, on the meeting of people and groups that operate in a similar way or are inspired by this idea. Organize a group and provide with certain services to the people of our municipality for good causes, such as collecting food, medicine, clothes for the less privileged people in our local communities. Closure. Our Youth Council is very active and committed to the ideas of a better future and cover most of the 70 goals of UNESCO in order to make our world better, cleaner, better educated, included, and less segregated. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am certain that the producers of this event shall serve each propose the best way for each and everyone for you and shall meet your expectations. Now, in my presentation, we're going to explore UNESCO's global framework for media information literacy cities. Now, Professor Ortiz already said a lot of things about it. In my presentation, we're specifically going to focus on the initiative's background, the principles it was based on. We're going to talk about how a regular city can become an MIL city, the assessment and monitoring procedure, who can be involved, the types of MIL activities, and also in the end, I will provide an example for further understanding. But let's start from the beginning. In order to understand why do we need a MIL cities framework, we must first define what a MIL city is. Well, according to our keynote speaker, Professor Ortiz, MIL cities are cities that use new technologies with the participation of new stakeholders in an ethical, sustainable, critical, and creative way. We need thus a MIL cities framework that is educating towards citizens, the public, and the private organizations, that aims towards bringing down cultural barriers and that promotes sustainable change for societies. UNESCO's global framework for MIL cities was launched during the Global MIL Week in 2018 in Kaunas, Lithuania. It was quite successful from the beginning, as it was adopted by 300 cities instantly and on an international scale. It's important to mention that the framework's role is complementary, as it collaborates with the International Coalition of Inclusive and Sustainable Cities. Now let's focus on the phrase sustainable cities. Sustainability is key concerning UNESCO's policies. Specifically, UNESCO Global Goal number 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, advocates for this purpose. Because for UNESCO, creating MIL cities is the priority, but creating sustainable MIL cities is the ultimate goal. At a glance, we can see that the initiative is multidisciplinary. It promotes intercultural and interreligious dialogue. It produces social and cultural value. But most importantly, its aim is to empower citizens and focus on developing skills. Of course, a framework cannot exist very long if it's not based on strong values. For this reason, the MIL Cities framework was based on these 6 principles. We have innovation, progress, inclusivity, international engagement, pragmatism, and the 5 laws of MIL. In a sentence, UNESCO built this framework experimenting in pioneering ways, aiming towards constant development, including municipalities from all around the world, but acknowledging the gap that exists between developing and developed countries. And of course, with the 5 laws that my colleague talked about yesterday as the compass. Now, how can a regular city become a MIL city? The answer lies in these 12 criteria. The aim is to engage the public, the local citizens, in the MIL activities. Not only the young, but also the older people. The aspiring MIL city has to integrate MIL in all aspects of city lives, in schools, in libraries, and also protect vulnerable groups such as the elder from misinformation or disinformation. Now, of course, when a city wants to become an MIL city, has to know the fact that an assessment and monitoring procedure takes place. As Mr. Ortiz said, in order for a city to become a model city, the first step is to state to UNESCO its willingness to be part of the initiative. Then the next step is to organize local practices that are based on innovation and aim towards promoting MIL. It's important and quite motivational, especially for the representatives of local authorities, that the best MIL city wins also a prize from UNESCO. The assessment procedure is quite simple as it is conducted by an evaluation form online. Who can be involved? Now, because the initiative was launched by an international organization, one might think that only the local or government authorities can be part of it. But that's half the truth. City actors, such as schools, libraries, museums, can be part of it. The private sector, such as businesses, institutions, organizations like NGOs, and of course, the local government authorities. Now, based on the schemes, we have the types of meal activities that I categorized in this scheme. First of all, local authorities, libraries, and schools. The main concept is to promote meal through partnerships, media corners, engaging with professionals, raising awareness, and creating collaboration between schools and the local authorities. Even the health system can be part of it, with the aim of eliminating health misinformation. The entertainment industry and museums have a lot of tools to use towards this purpose. They can create workshops, labs, thematic days, entertainment tools, even a meal summer school. Now, at the core of this initiative, thank you, lies the media industry, social media companies, and the other technological intermediaries. Well, again, the purpose is to engage with a civil society, promote meal into communities, and organize activities that serve the purpose of spreading meal in a broader spectrum. Now, as long as it concerns the mayor's networks, the point is to integrate media information literacy in the electoral education. And for the election commissions and authorities to take into consideration meal practices when forming policies and programs. And also for last, the transportation industry can be part of the initiative also by displaying the importance of meal in the public transportation. Now, in order to better understand how the initiative is applied in practice, I found a really interesting example. Now, we said that it's multidimensional and interdisciplinary. Here we have the UNESCO Meal Alliance EU subchapter Mediterranean group. I want to focus specifically on ECOMES initiative, the Meet Our Members initiative. So what basically does this initiative is mapping actions of meal cities in the Mediterranean region, encouraging public discourse and synergies among the members of Europe's subchapter Mediterranean Group for UNESCO Meal Alliance, setting up systematic action in the digital intermediated society in the Mediterranean region. In this list that I'm providing, you can see different stakeholders from Greece that take part in this initiative from different cities. We have film festivals, departments of universities, national centers, museums. We have even the National Council for Radio and Television. Through this example, we see how different stakeholders from different sectors collaborate in order to promote MIL on a further basis. Now, to conclude, we can understand that the process of creating the global framework was inclusive and advisory. The final MIL City framework was a product of the synergies, cooperation, and coordination of the future conference adopted by the Global MIL Cities Framework, the MIL Cities Framework Drafting Committee set up by UNESCO and the participants of the Global MIL Week 2018 future events in Lithuania and Latvia. Lastly, the MIL community provided complementary input in order to advance the document and provide it online. Thank you very much for your attention. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mrs. Anastasopoulos, for giving me the floor. Media and information literacy is of the utmost importance, especially in this day and age, as it empowers citizens, including children and youth, with competencies related to media, information, ICT, and other aspects of literacy which are needed for the 21st century. UNESCO, as a specialized United Nations agency, has undertaken several activities to solidify its notion. Drawing upon over 40 years of UNESCO's experience in MIL, it has become absolutely essential to establish more enduring partnerships that are necessary to amplify its impact. To this end, the UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Alliance was launched as a joint initiative of UNESCO and other key stakeholders, a groundbreaking effort to promote international cooperation to ensure that all citizens have access to media and information literacy competencies. As you can see here, we have the official logo of the Alliance. The face represents organizations, people of all ages, ethnicity, social status, religions, and sexes connecting to promote MIL as a tool for open and inclusive development. The maze stands for the critical thinking process, and the bubbles represent knowledge and various types of information and media. The Alliance was established through a call for interests, which was distributed to stakeholder groups globally in 2013. After the launch of the call, close to 500 organizations responded and agreed to be associated with the Global Alliance for Partnerships on Media and Information Literacy, or GovMIL, as it was initially called. This was followed by a 3-month online debate and culminated with a gathering of partners and further debates during the Global Forum for Partnerships on MIL from the 26th to the 28th of June 2013 in Abuja, Nigeria. Speakers and participants discussed, amended, and adopted a framework and plan of action for the Alliance. This process was necessary to enhance co-ownership and galvanize consensus on what shape the Alliance should take. According to the framework and plan of action, the UNESCO MIL Alliance is based on the following principles. First of all, prioritization of empowerment over protectionism and regulation. Also, rights at the center. This means that programs should target both citizens who have rights to MIL and those bearing the duty to provide MIL programs. Also, conventures. Conventures in theory, which is the blending of media literacy and information literacy, that is taught as a combined set of competencies, but also conventures in practice. This means the meeting of journalists, information and library specialists, educators, among others, and their related activities. Moreover, MIL is seen as essential to citizens' engagement, good governance, intercultural and interfaith dialogue, and sustainable development. Another principle is inclusivity. This means that women and girls, men and boys, people with disabilities, indigenous groups, or ethnic and religious minorities should all have equal access to MIL. Cultural and linguistic diversity, and finally, a balance of joint actions and organization.
The UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Alliance seeks to globally reposition MIL around the core objectives of enabling the MIL community to speak and address with a unified voice certain critical matters, including the need for policies. Also, further deepening the strategy for MIL to be treated as a composite concept by providing a common platform for MIL-related networks and associations globally that will ensure convergence of regional and international initiatives and the amplification of global impact. Finally, articulating concrete partnerships to drive MIL development and impact globally. If you were to visualize the structure of the UNESCO MIL Alliance, it would probably look something like this. Beginning from the top of the pyramid, we have UNESCO, who, as part of its ongoing work, has a lead role in the Alliance in cooperation with the United Nations Alliance of Civilization, UNICEF, Open Society Foundation, International Research and Exchanges Board, the European Commission, and other UN agencies and international development partners who agreed to come on board in the future. The International Steering Committee is composed of representatives of the core group of partners engaged in the Alliance. It supports and advises UNESCO and has functional coordinating rules in the implementation of the Alliance's activities as co-coordinator of the network, helping to ensure its sustainability at the national, regional, and international levels. This is followed by the 5 regional chapters, which are the focal points in the regions, along with other regional committee members. They develop and implement regional action plans to stimulate synergies around MIL based on the global framework and action plan of the Alliance. Finally, there are more than 700 members in each country or region who represent a variety of organizations and entities implementing projects on the groundwork, including governments, national institutions, local associations, local communities, NGOs, academic and research institutions, and private sector entities. There are also the working groups who provide independent expertise to the steering committee with respect to scientific and technical programs and policies. Their number depends on the findings of consultative processes. So, for example, there is a working group on innovation in media and information literacy, another one on disinformation and privacy, etc. And something very worth mentioning is the UNESCO MIL Alliance Youth Committee. The UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Alliance Youth Committee was formed during the Global MIL Week 2016 Youth Agenda Forum in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as an integral part of the MIL Alliance. Adopting UNESCO's Youth as Leaders strategy, the Youth Committee involves young professionals and youth leaders in fields related to MIL who participate in shaping the global MIL agenda. They do this in partnership with multiple stakeholder groups, including governments, international organizations, youth networks, academic institutions, local associations and communities, NGOs, and private sector organizations. In close collaboration with UNESCO and the International Steering Committee, the Youth Committee aims to formulate youth programs and activities and monitor their implementation, enhance the leadership of youth and strengthen their participation in MIL-related activities, events, and projects, build capacities of youth on engagement in national, regional, and global decision-making processes and their understanding of policy and advocacy mechanisms in the field of MIL, provide expertise to youth in their planning and implementation of MIL-related projects, and articulate strategic partnerships. It consists of the following: the global coordinators who oversee all of the committee's actions in consultation with UNESCO and the International Steering Committee, and also serve as its focal points together with UNESCO, the ISC, and other members of the Youth Committee. Also, regional coordinators, who are the committee's legions and coordinators of its actions in different regions in cooperation with the UNESCO MIL Alliance's regional chapters. The youth ambassadors, these are global champions for MIL and representatives of the Youth Committee. And finally, informal networks of operational partners in each country or region who implement projects at local level. Another thing very worth mentioning is the Global Meal Alliance Awards. Since their first edition in 2016, the Global Media and Information Literacy Awards are presented every year at the Global Meal Week conference. The Meal Alliance Awards recognize information, library, media and technology specialists, educators, artists, activists, researchers, policymakers, NGOs, associations, and other groups integrating meal in an innovative way in their work and related activities. Specifically, the awards recognize excellence and leadership in 5 sectors. These are education, research, policy, advocacy, media and communications / information industries. And of course, today we have with us the first prize winner in their most recent edition, Mr. Felipe Ortiz from Brazil. I would like to invite you to become a member. You can join the online debate by filling out the questionnaire and become a full member of the Alliance. If you're part of an organization working in the field of media, journalism, communication, and education, you can join the Alliance by clicking on this link. It will take you to a page that looks like this. There is a questionnaire with very simple questions. You can just choose, but okay. Thank you. Our participation is divided in 2 parts. In the first part, we will discuss about the creative cities, the definition, the objectives, the areas of action, the framework, best practices, and by the connection with Sustainable Development Goal 11 and 4, we will continue to the next part about learning cities and discuss again the definition, areas of action, framework, see some of the global best practices, and of course, the example of Greece. During our research, some questions came to mind. So, why do we talk about cities? Cities are human settlements, not only urban areas, and the aim is to reach everywhere. Cities have proven to be particularly agile and innovative partners, promote ethical use of communication, ensure diverse and sustainable development, benefit from digital revolution. Who is involved in this initiative? In a people-centered philosophy, all civil society stakeholders are the agents at a local level in cooperation with UNESCO as a laboratory of ideas and international dialogue. And the most important, what do we need? We need livable places, thriving human activity, construction of cohesive societies with more strategic, comprehensive vision through coordinated action and participatory decision-making. Before we go on to the characteristics of creative cities, we have to set some facts that helping us to understand better the necessity of these networks. World's foreign-born population live in global societies in about 19%. 3% of gross domestic product is generated through cultural, creative industries, and most are based in cities. 90% of urban expansion will be in the developing world in the coming decades. 2.2 billion people are estimated to live in slums in 2030. 156 billion urbanites live without improved water sources. And $14 billion is the global average of annual economic losses from disaster in cities. Now, let's engage in a conversation about creative cities with my colleague Panagiotis.
To begin with, Let's have a quick look at UNESCO's programs and networks of cities in general. First of all, we have Creative Cities program, which will be discussed in a minute. UNESCO Netextlo Observatory program, Global Network of Learning Cities, Disaster Risk Reduction and Resilience program, World Heritage Cities program, International Coalition of Inclusive and Sustainable Cities, Mega Cities Alliance for Water and Climate, and finally, Real Cities. UNESCO Creative Cities Network was created in 2004. It includes 350 cities, promote cooperation with and among cities. Creativity is a strategic factor, promotes urban sustainable development according to 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development through innovation and promotion of social cohesion. The network covers 7 fields of literature, design, music, gastronomy, media arts, film, craft, and folk art. UNESCO's World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, Mondial 2022, recognized culture as a global public good. Both the networks of creative cities and Mondial are linked through a joint effort to promote culture and creativity as a driving force for sustainable development. In 2023, SDG Summit reaffirmed culture as an enabler for sustainable development. What are the objectives of this network? The network aims to strengthen international cooperation between cities, make creativity an essential component of urban development via initiatives, enhance the creation, production, distribution, and dissemination of cultural activities, develop hubs of creativity and innovation, provide cultural life for all people, by all people, and finally support local development through culture and creativity. The objectives are implemented both at the level of the member cities and the international level through these areas of action. First of all, sharing experiences, knowledge, and best practices, connecting public and private sectors through pilot projects, partnerships, and initiatives, artistic exchange programs, networks, studies, research, and evaluations, sustainable urban development, and finally, communication and awareness. But what are the characteristics of these creative cities? The cities promote cultural heritage and identity with creative economy, innovation and technology, education and training, international collaboration and networking, cultural inclusion and access to all people, urban development and sustainability, promotion and tourism, and finally support for the local community. However, the creative cities face various challenges. First of all, cultural identity management, balance between tourism and local life, and capitalizing on creative city status. So, what are the solutions to these challenges? The solution is to combine creativity with culture and collaboration among the cities network. Let's have a look at 2 standout examples from Creative Cities Network. First of all, it shows the city of Namur in Belgium. It is a member of Creative Cities Network since 2021, and it covers the field of media arts. The city aims to be an intelligent city, setting an example for sustainable development and human progress. Creativity and technological advancements are driving forces in the city. The city aims to strengthen research, creation, production, management, and circulation of media arts, build on existing initiatives, and finally benefit the network member cities through the exchange of experiences. In Greece, we have the city of Thessaloniki, with the Thessaloniki Food Festival. It is a member since 2021, and it covers the field of gastronomy.
one of the largest cities in the southeastern Europe and the second major economic, industrial, and commercial center in Greece. In 2011, the city launched the largest and longest-lasting gastronomic festival in Greece. The festival aims to strengthen international cooperation, develop a gastronomic hub, improve access to cultural life for vulnerable groups, mentor programs for immigrants, distribute and disseminate cultural activities, and finally promote partnerships. If we would like to look ahead and see what are the goals for the future of this network, we would say that the network needs strategies to overcome challenges and encourage collaborative efforts, foster equitable access to digital platforms, and utilize innovative technologies for sustainable tourism, like digital storytelling. So, talking about digital storytelling, how can empower digital storytelling and digital platforms in general, the creative six networks, by amplifying community voices, showcasing local traditions and histories, integrate diverse perspectives into tourism narratives, meeting the various needs from older people and disabled populations, and facilitate inclusion among all societal sectors. The Creative Cities Network plays a crucial role in SDG 11. In order to make our cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. By 2050, 2 out of every 3 people will live in cities, but cities will be affected by threats like poverty and social inequalities, environmental degradation, health theft, discrimination, and disasters caused by natural hazards. However, cities create opportunities because cities are powerhouses for SDG 11, because they are places of diversity, inclusion, centers of cooperation, heritage, creativity, innovation, and hubs of learning. UNESCO will stand as a bridge between international ambitions and local realities. So the question is, how we will get our cities right for the future of the planet and all its inhabitants? It will not be a network providing inspiration, know-how, and good practices.
And the answer is, in order to make our cities multicultural, creative, we need quality education first. And as the SDG 4 aims to expand higher education scholarships for developing countries, increase the number of people with relevant skills for financial success, build and upgrade inclusive and safe schools, increase the supply of qualified teachers in developing countries, promote education for sustainable development and global citizenship, enhance universal literacy and numeracy, equal access to quality pre-primary education and affordable technical vocational higher education, provide free primary, secondary education, and of course, eliminate all discrimination in education. Learning Cities Network connects about 64 cities in 35 countries. The aim is to develop appropriate frameworks and opportunities in local and international level to provide lifelong learning skills inclusion, social cohesion, economic and cultural prosperity, and sustainability, and promote learning through formal, non-formal, and informal education. As Endurian Zuley, UNESCO Director General, said, cities are key to transforming the right to education into a tangible reality for individuals of all ages. With the new admissions, the network now includes 356 member cities from all around the world that share know-how and pave the way for lifelong learning opportunities for 390 million citizens. to build a learning city, we have to set some goals. First of all, lifelong learning is the future for our cities. Education programs are important and designed for all citizens. Provide the participation to family learning, giving special attention to all vulnerable and disadvantaged groups, and recognize every single community, the history and the culture as a unique and Christian resource for learning through life. How to build a learning city? What's the steps? First of all, extending the use of modern learning technologies. A network promoting policy dialogue and peer learning among member cities. Facilitating learning for and in the workplace. Providing capacity development and instruments to encourage and recognize progress made in building learning cities. And fostering partnerships. UNESCO has designed a framework a global framework in order to success. First of all, an action plan needs an action plan. Second, to celebrate this vision, to celebrate the lifelong learning. Third is to promote involvement and participation. Fourth, the accessibility to every single person. The next one is to evaluate and monitor the progress and ensure sustainable funding. Good practices and policies are the initiative and the ingredients of becoming a learning city. One of the best examples globally is the case study of Sao Paulo, like we heard earlier from Mr. Ortiz. 84% of population of Brazil live in cities. Due to COVID-19, more teachers are media literate. School active search focuses on a reduced dropout rate, and small and comprehensive support service establish non-formal education projects. The vision is 50% increase of public for full-time education students and at least 25% assistance in basic education. According to our country, I chose 4 examples to share with you that has managed to transform in learning cities. One of them is the Heraklion in Crete. Is the largest economical and cultural city of Crete, awarded as a learning city in 2019, and mobilize all stakeholders to ensure equal and open access to a variety of educational, cultural, and business experiences. A local strategy plan for lifelong learning became of the municipal strategy for sustainability. One best practice, very interesting, is about prisoners' education program called Communication in Everyday Life. The next one is Larissa. Larissa is the capital of central Greece, of Thessaly in central Greece. And the major long-term goal of Larissa is to connect learning opportunities with labor market needs in the local community. So has developed some open schools projects. And very important is the actively participate in shaping current and future learning projects. And some good practices of Larissa is the Youth Council and the Traffic Education Program. The next one is Athens, the capital of Greece, a historical capital of Europe. And the city's vision is to driving sustainable development and creating an inclusive society, developing a lifelong learning programs, combat unemployment, collaborated with the Vocational Training Center. In order to prevent homelessness, there are centers for disadvantaged groups. And the last one that we discussed earlier is Thermi, semi-urban and rural landscape is located in the outskirts of Thessaloniki. And I won't say furthermore, the only one that the vision is education, volunteering, health, well-being, and the environment are a few of the pillars that municipality promotes in lifelong learning programs. To conclude, both learning and creative cities provide a sense of shared identity worldwide, adapting 21st century conditions and challenges in order to raise new concerns. Adaptability and flexibility is to address critical structural and social problems involving new stakeholders, especially young people. Provide information by combating fake news, making creative proposals which affect our daily lives, motivational insensitive for citizens, promoting information and communication by the use of new technologies, and focuses on empathy in order to achieve the goal of creative and learning cities. As Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done. So we invite you all to build our future with creativity through learning. And you can share, you can scan and share your point of view, your photos, and whatever you can think about learning and creative cities. Thank you very much.
As Eleftheria has said, I'm going to talk about media literacy education as a means for intercultural competence development. And my focus is going to move from UNESCO, from the global environment to the EU. And we are going to explore what is happening in the European Union policy making as regards the connection between media literacy and intercultural competence. I hope this changes. So I will try for a very short time to talk about definitions. We need definitions in order to show the particular aspects of each concept. So I'm going to give the definitions and some features of the definitions of literacy, media literacy, and intercultural competence. Then I'm going to focus on the EU institutional and policy framework regarding media literacy and media literacy education. And I'm going to focus on very specific regulatory provisions and some supportive entities, because as I'm going to comment, the EU does not have particular initiatives and projects, but gives the opportunity to member states to exercise their responsibility on education and plan and implement their own projects regarding these topics. And finally, I will conclude my presentation with some concluding remarks. So we have definitions about literacy and about media literacy. Very long time ago, when we talked about literacy, we only meant the ability of someone to read and write. But over the years, the definition has become more generic. And today, when we refer to literacy, we refer to the knowledge of a particular subject or of a particular type of knowledge. And the EU has included literacy in the key competencies for lifelong learning since 2006. and defines literacy as the ability to identify, understand, express, create, and interpret concepts, feelings, facts, and opinions in both oral and written forms, using visual, sound, audio, and digital materials across disciplines and contexts. So if we now move to media literacy, we can see that there are many different definitions, and each definition actually adds to the previous one because it shows that media literacy always expands its content. Hobbes is one of the biggest names in media literacy academics, among media literacy academics. She says that media literacy is an expanded conceptualization of literacy. It includes the ability to access and analyze media messages, as well as to create, reflect, and take action using the power of information and communication to make a difference in the world. This is about the same that the EU talks about. Before moving to intercultural competence and define its concept, I would like to show you this slide. The idea comes from the work of Hobbes, and she identifies 5 competencies that are very essential for media literacy, and therefore they can show the different aspects of its impact. We have access, which means actually the ability to find and use media and technology tools skillfully and share the appropriate and relevant information with others. The next step is, the next competency is to analyze and evaluate, which talks about the ability to comprehend messages and to use critical thinking to analyze message quality, veracity, credibility, and point of view, as well as to consider potential effects or consequences of the messages. The next competence is to create, which talks about the ability to compose or generate content using creativity and confidence in self-expression with awareness of purpose, audience, and composition techniques. Then we have reflect, which talks about the ability to apply social responsibility and ethical principles to one's own identity and lived experience, the communication behavior and conduct. And finally, we have the 5th competence, act, which talks about the ability to work individually and collaboratively in order to share knowledge and solve problems in the family, the workplace, and in the community, and to participate as a member of a community at local, regional, national, and international levels. So now let's talk about international competence, which is really very important for people's personal, social, and professional life. And it seems to be very useful, very valuable in the modern environment, which has been globalized since decades now. I will mention the definition of the Council of Europe, which is very indicative. It defines intercultural competence as the ability to understand and respect each other across all types of cultural barriers. And so the particular competence includes a set of knowledge and skills that are necessary for people and organizations to act in an intercultural way in diverse societies. I will refer to the second definition, which also says about the same thing. It identifies intercultural competence as a measure of one's efficacy at communicating and interacting with people from a variety of backgrounds, cultures, and identities. As regards the intercultural competence, we can identify 5 elements, 5 components, which include attitudes, knowledge, skills, the internal outcomes and the external outcomes, When we move from attitudes to knowledge to skills, we add different types of components of intercultural competence. Having attitudes, having the particular attitudes, knowledge, and skills allows us to develop a more flexible mindset and relate to different perspectives. So we have a number of internal outcomes that have to do with us, with our personality. And then if we put them all together, the attitudes, the knowledge, the skills, the internal outcomes, we are led to the external outcomes, which can be, in a few words, described as the ability to demonstrate proper behavior in intercultural scenarios. So this is a first idea of how we understand intercultural competence. I will skip this slide. Maybe we can get back later. And I will return to a rhetoric question, whether media literacy can be taught. And of course, the answer is yes. Of course, we have to accompany this yes with the idea that it is media literacy is very important for all those reasons that the literacy, the literature talks about. In general, we can say that media literacy education focuses on cultivating to people, especially to young people, the ability to develop media literacy competence. In other words, to develop awareness as regards the influence of media and to have an active stance both as consumers and as creators of media content. We have two ways that we interact with the media. And we can say for sure that today media literacy education, whenever and wherever it exists, it provides people with the appropriate tools with which they can increase their access to and their understanding of more types of media and create their own messages. Moreover, it makes them able to critically analyze the media messages in order to identify fake news, propaganda, censorship, and bias, as well as other factors that influence the operation of the media, such as ownership and potential interests that may affect the presented information and may endanger the quality of information. And finally, media literacy education helps people to manage their experiences in alternative environments, since now the media has been multiplied and continues to multiply the types that is offered. So how do we live and work and interact with others in these alternative environments? The social networks, the virtual communities, big data comes into the discussion, artificial intelligence, cyber surveillance, advanced mobile technologies. If I'm not mistaken, yesterday, one of the presenters talked more specifically about these issues. So now let us proceed to the European policy making, targeting the development of media literacy education. And I will, as you will see, I will focus only on very specific, on selected policy documents, because they are indicative and they are those that talk about media literacy education with cultural, let's say, extensions more. The first document is a communication of the European Commission on media literacy. It was published in 2007. In this document, the Commission recognized that media literacy became an important component of the European and the member states policy agenda, because the role of media had already been upgraded in all aspects of life. Although the economic impact of media attracted much of the interest, this is not something new in the EU, the Commission acknowledged that the various types of media help people to understand the world around them better and to participate in the democratic and cultural life. At the same time, it underlined the changes that have been taking place in media consumption due to the introduction of new media types, features and capabilities, to their broader availability and their easier accessibility. The European Commission accepted that media literacy should include all kinds of media. For this reason, the content and the objectives of media literacy became broader than they were in the past. The active use of media by an individual, either as a creator or as a user of media content, should be related to the facilitation of the access to culture and to the promotion of intercultural dialogue. In the same communication, the Commission highlighted the need for citizens to be properly guided in order to better understand the economic and cultural dimension of media. So this is where education comes into light. It is seen as an effective tool for such aims. In addition, the Commission recognized the importance for Europe's economy to have strong and competitive media at a global level, provided that the media industry would continue to deliver pluralism and cultural diversity. So the intercultural competencies all around the communication. A final remark about that, the Commission recognized that the national authorities have the primary responsibility to include media literacy in their education systems, in the formal education systems. But at the same time, the Commission underlined the fact that the role of non-formal education was equally important, and recognized the important role that the local authorities could play in the promotion of media literacy by organizing non-formal educational activities in the local communities. A second regulatory document that is very interesting is a document from 2018, which is the revised Audiovisual and Media Services Directive, which was published by the European Parliament and the Council. The previous directive was published in 2010, and the revised directive provides that member states should, among others, should promote and take measures for the development of media literacy skills. So the directive asked the member states to designate, first of all, to designate national regulatory authorities on media. These authorities would exercise their power in order to ensure certain requirements, among which I will mention media pluralism, cultural and linguistic diversity, and non-discrimination. Furthermore, the directive announced the development by the Commission, together with other groups of experts, of a toolbox that would improve users' awareness, critical skills and choices, and would help them access a greater variety of media content with safety. Among other provisions, this toolbox should take into account the cultural diversity of the European environment and should include provisions tackling various existing stereotypes, such as the ones that have to do with gender, culture, or religion. As a result of this directive, the Commission was led to publish 3 sets of guidelines, which are very useful for member states in order to know what to do and how to do it. So one of these sets of guidelines refer to the obligation of the member states to undertake measures that promote and develop media literacy skills. And of course, it obliges them to submit periodically reports regarding their performance in media literacy, in the development of media literacy skills, which forms some kind of accountability so that the European Union knows the levels of achievement for every member state. A third document comes from September 2020. It is the Digital Education Action Plan for the period 2021 to 2027. This action plan also included references to the promotion of media literacy. It connected media literacy with the promotion of digital literacy. This is something that is always happening in the policy agenda of the EU, and recognized its importance for the everyday life of citizens. Education is considered, in this action plan, education is considered a supportive means for learners that can enhance their critical thinking and help them to be able to critically approach, filter, and assess information, notably to identify disinformation and to manage overload of information. The European Commission pledged to develop common guidelines for teachers and educational staff in order to be able to tackle disinformation through education and training with the support of various stakeholders. The fourth document initiative comes from December 2020. It is also an action plan which has to do with the media, Europe's media in the digital decade. In this action plan, the Commission stated that the media literacy is critical to empower citizens in the modern media environment and underlined its importance in combating disinformation. For this reason, the Commission deemed necessary the creation of a pan-European cooperation, which should include many stakeholders from different areas. For example, people who were authorized to undertake the policy making, persons from actors from the economy, education professionals and providers, media professionals, and members of the civil society. Besides the ability of media literacy to help individuals take informed decisions and make good use of the media, its integration in the school curricula is expected to enable children to use media services responsibly and to be better equipped to face the threats of online violence and disinformation. As regards the particular action plan, it has set 10 discrete actions. Action 9 refers to the empowerment of citizens and includes provisions regarding the incorporation of media literacy in education and its ability to contribute to the development of international competence. Action 8, which is a little bit different, focuses on the way to foster European media talents. So under this action, the EU aspires to ensure that there are enough talents available for the European media industry by encouraging mentoring projects in order to attract media talents. And this is where something is very important. The Commission would foster campaigns on diversity for the promotion of all talents. Now, let us proceed to just mention them. I will just mention them to the establishment by the European Union of certain, let's say, supportive bodies. They're not really agencies or something, but they are very useful organizations that support in their own means the development of media literacy in the European Union. You can see we have the European Audiovisual Observatory since 1992, which actually is a meeting point for media, for professionals of the media and policymakers regarding the media from 41 countries. In 2015, there was the Media Literacy Experts Group created, which also aspires to bring together the practitioners and the policymakers. And finally, in 2020, we have the creation of the European Digital Media Observatory, which focuses especially on the digital media and is aspiring, is going to be the meeting point in order to prepare the plans for the digital media of the years to come. I will close my presentation with some concluding remarks. As I said earlier, I chose to comment only on certain emblematic regulatory interventions of the EU by focusing on their provisions for media literacy education and their direct or indirect connection with the development of intercultural competence. So we have to make some general observations. First of all, we can see that the EU often develops media literacy frameworks about media literacy together in parallel or together with those for digital literacy. Of course, this can be easily explained by the fact that a large part of the modern media has acquired a digital form. So we could say maybe that they often face similar challenges. In addition, we have to keep in mind that education in all its forms remains in the member states' responsibility. Therefore, the specific education content that could foster intercultural competence through media literacy relies on the government's initiatives and willingness. So, what does the EU actually do? It is usually limited to generalized provisions. So we have regulatory provisions, we have basic principles and guidelines. We have initiatives for the mobilization of research targeting media literacy education. And of course, we have opportunities to fund initiatives for best practices and implementation tools, which, however, have to be developed by the member states or by other entities, organizations, or members of the civil society. Is it valuable to have the EU taking initiatives in this field? Of course, the answer is yes, because its contribution is very important. It ensures that there is a comprehensive approach to the media literacy and to its educational dimension by defining the priorities, setting principles and guidelines, creating tools, or at least enabling the member states to create tools, appointing regulatory and monitoring entities, encouraging national activation, and facilitating the exchange of good practices. And finally, media literacy concerns which groups? We can see that the groups that are concerned are many. Each one is related to media literacy for different reasons. For example, media literacy education concerns young or adult learners at all education levels who must be able to manage their interaction with the media and to use them properly for the development of their personality. It concerns teachers, trainers, and educators who must be able to guide and support their students in their interrelation with the media and increase their media literacy. In addition, the education professionals, they must be able to use media literacy education as a means for the students' empowerment and the development of intercultural competence in a very complex environment. It concerns the media literacy education concerned media professionals who are required to be fully aware of their responsibility towards the society and the people, and thus to adjust the media content to the modern needs according to the set quality principles. And finally, it concerns the civil society, because the EU sees media literacy education as a tool for the development of open, democratic, diverse societies where active citizens can discern information from various sources, identify disinformation, take informed decisions, are resilient, and act responsibly. Thank you very much for your attention.
My topic is UNESCO combating hate speech in education. I will concentrate mostly in the work of UNESCO. Here we have the structure of my presentation. We will see at first some facts. After that, we will try to have the definition of what is hate speech. We will give the global legal framework, and we will concentrate on the last edition of UNESCO about hate speech in education, called UNESCO Addressing Hate Speech in the Field of Education. And we will conclude with the role that the transformative education can play, as UNESCO also emphasized, about eliminating and combating this phenomenon. So let's begin with some facts that give us the global context of this phenomenon. The number of the incidents of the intolerance, of the racism, of the anti-Semitism, and of the violence has steadily risen around the world. The COVID also 19 has sharpened an already alarming increase of fear and hate-based disinformation, including hate speech. Hate speech, both online and offline, has surged, fueled by fear, disinformation, and exclusionary ideologies. Of course, there is also the complexity of definition of hate speech and the prohibition of incitement by the international law, a form of speech, which emphasize that hate speech is a form of speech explicitly aimed at triggering discrimination, hostility, and violence. So, hate speech we have not only offline, but also online. So we see nowadays talking about digital hate speech. Hate speech is especially virulent online due to its anonymity and its use for spreading and diffusing with significant consequences. Here you can see some incidents and some facts we have from all over the world. First of all, from the United Kingdom, the Northern Ireland, and the United States of America, where we can see a rise of hate speech by 20% since the outbreak of the pandemic. We also can notice that across the Arabic-speaking world, internal documentation of Facebook has revealed that the social media company faces significant challenges in the monitoring and moderation of hate speech. So hate speech in the digital sphere is linked to the escalation of violent acts worldwide. For instance, in Germany, researchers identified a connection between increases in anti-refugee Facebook posts and upticks in related hate crimes. But what is hate speech? Hate speech is a complex issue lacking a universally accepted legal definition, which complicates efforts to address it. According to the United Nations and the United Nations Strategy and Plan of Action on Hate speech refers to any communication or behavior that attacks or uses discriminatory language targeting individuals or groups based on identity factors such as race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or nationality. United Nations strategy also notices that it often fosters division, intolerance, and contempt, with impacts ranging from emotional distress to incitement and violence. The concept of hate speech is a form of speech or discourse that exhibits the following characteristics. First, it is a speech or expressive behavior. Secondly, it concerns any members of groups or classes of groups identified by so-called protected characteristics. And thirdly, it includes or is closely associated with emotions, feelings, or attitude of hate or hatred. We have we have a variety of forms on hate speech. And we can say that we can notice hate speech, oral, written, visual, and with digital content, which is spread through media, social platforms, and even non-verbal gestures. The new technologies have amplified its reach, making digital platforms a crucial space for both the dissemination, but also the combating of hate speech. And also we notice that there is a huge spread of disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. Now, the consequences of hate speech. Hate speech often serves to polarize and incite violence with historical links to genocides and atrocities, those against the Jews in Europe and the Tutsi in Rwanda. And it also leads to extremism and what we call today radicalization. Even without physical harm, hate speech dehumanizes its targets. It infringes on their human rights, and at last, it disrupts educational environment, which is the topic of my presentation. Here you can see the consequences of hate speech and how hate speech can fuel mistrust, after that populism, violence, extremist ideologies, and of course, radicalization. So let's see the legal framework. Speaking about the legal framework of hate speech, we know that the first text is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is non-binding. We also know about the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Article 19 and 20, which give us and the UNESCO's three-part test, which we follow. We have also the Rabat Plan of Action on the prohibition of advocacy of national, racial, and religious hatred, which give us the six-part threshold test. And we have also the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination and the Camden Principles on Freedom of Expression and Equality developed by the Human Rights Organization named Article 19. What is the UNESCO's three-part test? This test is on the legitimate limits to freedom of expression and any restriction that must be followed by the three principles of legality that is clearly expressed and prescribed by law, the legitimacy that is implemented to protect the human right of others, and to the necessity and proportionality that is reasonably suited to the situation in question. We have talked also about the six-part threshold test, which means that when we want to see when a speech, when discourse is hate speech, we have to notice these six things. First of all, the context of the expression, the speaker, the intent, the content of the expression, the extent and the magnitude of the expression, and of course, the likelihood of harm occurring, including its imminence. As we have said, the most important text recent test is the Strategy and Action Plan on Hate Speech on 2019, launched by the United Nations, which emphasize that hate speech is a precursor to atrocity crimes, including genocide, and its aim is the enhancement of a system-wide response to this global phenomenon. Because of the global rise in hate speech and the complexity of addressing hate speech, there is an urgent need for multifaceted approach. Now, let's see, what is the role of education in combating hate speech? We have here a lot of addition in UNESCO recommendation and the more recent guidelines that talk about this theme. But why education? We noticed that the role of education is double-edged. It means it is a potent force for good, but it is also misused for harmful narratives and systemic inequality. Education so can play a pivotal role in countering hateful narratives and the emergence of group-targeted violence. And all of this in the framework of SDG number 4, and especially the target 4.7, the Education 2030 agenda, and of course, the most recent transformative education. But how can make all this education? Education can be a powerful tool for addressing hate speech at its roots. It can serve to expose prejudice, stereotypes, and help learners and teachers alike to unpack bias. It can strengthen awareness of the harm caused by and the consequences of hate speech. And of course, it can help develop capacities to recognize and reject hateful discourses and related manipulation techniques. The key themes that these recent guidelines that UNESCO has edited are four. First of all, in UNESCO, it is written that we must have education as a strategy. Secondly, there are a lot of definition and root causes and the contextual challenges and the tensions between national and international legal frameworks. UNESCO guidelines also, at a third level, talk about education policy, pedagogy, and classroom practices, curricula, textbooks, school leadership, and management and partnership, and how all this can help us to combat hate speech in education. And fourthly, UNESCO guidelines emphasizes strategies to evaluate the effectiveness of all this. We have in this text, the recent text of UNESCO, the famous key recommendation. There are 12 recommendations. We can see from each one the most crucial. First of all, we have to implement concrete plans, including policy frameworks and budgetary allocation. We also must have initiatives to provide for a holistic approach to the issue. We must also have strategies in order to address hate speech, upholding the right to freedom of expression. We have also must have and follow the guidelines and the mechanism to support individuals and groups targeted by hate speech in educational settings. We have also to incorporate into formal curriculum educational activities in order to address the root causes of hate speech. And of course, we need media information literacy and digital citizenship to cultivate. We also need to strengthen skills in critical thinking, social and emotional learning, and foster intercultural dialogue and promote the global citizenship. We must also encourage extracurricular activities that can conduct to critical thinking and intercultural dialogue. and can contribute to an inclusive environment. We must be in a safe, respectful, and inclusive environment, cultivating a whole of school approach. We must also provide our educators and school leaders with in-service training in order to equip them with new educational approaches to respond and counter hate speech in their daily activities and mostly in their interaction with students. We must also build the resilience of education system through an integrated effort, including family and community this time, and with multi-stakeholder partnerships. And we, at last, must establish criteria to evaluate and assess to the effectiveness of intervention to address hate speech. So, addressing hate speech, according to UNESCO, through education requires a comprehensive, multi-sectoral approach. Secondly, an integration of strategies at all types of education, formal and informal, and at all levels of education. Which means from the early childhood to the lifelong learning. The key areas of focus key strategies for UNESCO, as we can see here, are first of all, the curricula and the textbook. It means we must revise curricula and textbook to remove harmful stereotypes and promote inclusiveness, diversity, and non-discrimination. We must also include content that addresses hate speech, as omission can be as harmful as negative portrayals. Secondly, we must train and guide our educators. It means teachers need pre-service and in-service training, especially on media and information literacy, on digital citizenship, and on social-emotional learning. All these must be a guidance from the educators after that to learners in understanding the root causes of hate speech and in the development of respectful digital behaviors. Thirdly, we must provide institutional and leadership reform, which means we must build resilience by fostering a positive school climate that combats dehumanizing expressions. And we must invest in teacher education, in their professional development, and of course, in the community engagement to all that. And fourthly, we must engage with the families and the communities, which means that we need collaboration, peer influence, and of course, youth engagement in anti-hate speech program, because youth can walk and can play the role as influencers. Combating hate speech in education requires systemic effort and changes by revising the curricula, the training of educators by supporting and recognizing and addressing hate speech, and of course, an inclusive, again, school climate, which means that the schools should promote equality, inclusion, non-discrimination if they want to prevent harm and ensure a safe learning environment. We need also, except all this, the anti-discrimination policies, and we need effective reporting mechanisms. And we need also research on the impact and the spread of hate speech, because all that lead to a whole of society effort in order to foster respect, critical thinking, and empathy of our learners. And all this in order to make them capable of challenging hate speech and in order to promote and create inclusive and positive societies. But addressing hate speech is particularly challenging for the educators, as their own socialization may affect their ability to challenge harmful ideologies. So in this case, the social learning theory emphasizes, first of all, the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the behaviors, the attitudes, and the emotional reaction of significant others. And of course, it emphasizes how both environmental and cognitive factors can interact in order to influence human learning and behavior. We must have also improved responses by social media companies in terms of inter alia content moderation, support for the moderators traumatized by the experience and the greatest transparency in the platformative practices. And now I have focused on how the media deformation literacy and digital education can combat hate speech. Both of these education are very necessary in the digital space where content circulates rapidly and communities form online. Learners need critical thinking, dialogue. They need media literacy and digital citizenship skills in order to navigate and challenge the hate speech effectively. Media literacy enables users to evaluate media content critically, understand social context, and make informed decisions as both consumers and creators. They help build resilience to online hate speech and empower learners to engage ethically and safely online. It equips them to recognize harmful content like disinformation, conspiracy theories, polarizing rhetoric, making them less susceptible to manipulation. And this approach fosters responsive digital citizens who can contribute to positive societal change by promoting inclusive and peaceful online narratives. So the MIL intervention focused on unpacking the architecture of digital platforms, the teaching of learners to critically access online information and counter false, harmful, and biased content. And when paired with education on social responsibility and historical content, media literacy can significantly reduce support for exclusionary and extremist ideas, helping to create more respectful and safe online communities. But what is the ultimate goal of all this? Of course, the empowerment. We want to empower the learners today by providing them an intercultural engagement and reach to what we call globalization, which means a combination of global and local citizenship. And we need also to achieve the future literacy. The future literacy, as UNESCO show us, is the result of a deep learning which fosters life skills, soft skills, career skills, leader skills by transforming knowledge into action. So our conclusion from this research is that we need two types of education if we want to combat hate speech. The education must be transformative and lifelong. Transformative, which includes global citizenship education, which means intercultural education, peace education, education for sustainable development. We need also the digital education, which includes meal education. And we need socio-emotional learning and education, which cultivates the empathy, the self-awareness, and the awareness of others. And as for the lifelong education, it means a civic education for achieving the active participation in communities and in cities, and the protection of the human rights in education. And speaking of that, we must emphasize that we have the fourth generation of human rights. According to the new social contract of UNESCO, we have, apart from the right to culture, the right to information, the right to lifelong learning, and all these conclude to the right to connectivity, which is very important nowadays. And all this can be achieved by the proper and the education of all this type if we want and if we try to promote, as they called, the ethic of care and of solidarity. Yes, okay. So here I have, a slide about what is more specific, the transformative education. I think that we have talked about all these. And the aim of the transformative education, let's stay only on this, that transformative education, yes, and has a name, all these things that you can see here, I think that also. And in order to conclude, some proposals from all these study, we can summarize that if we want to combat hate speech in education, we need the 4T. We need time. It's a lifelong learning procedure. We need tolerance between us and to the others. We need trust. We need to trust the other people. And we need, of course, transformative education. And it's very important to say that if we want to combat hate speech in education, we can promote a hate approach, which means we have two pylons. We have the human-based approach for the empowerment of learners as citizens, and we need the transformative education for the sustainability of education and society. Here you can see some case studies that UNESCO in its edition has in order to show how worldwide they have through some project managed to combat hate speech in education. And I would like to conclude and finish my presentation with the motto of UNESCO: no one was born to hate. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Olga Makri. I'm a school psychologist in Greece, and I wish every success to this third International Student Conference that is organized by the UNESCO chair of the University of Macedonia, where I postgraduated. I do apologize for not being able to be present at the conference in Thessaloniki due to a serious health issue that made me record the presentation in advance. So let's start with the title of this presentation having to do with European Union Media and Information Literacy, MIL, in education, and exploring the case of the EU member state Greece. In this presentation, we'll see an introductory material having to do with the conceptual framework of MIL. We'll explore MIL in education within terms of a transformative role that it can take. We'll try to see a video created with artificial intelligence, promoting MIL skills today is the title. And we'll see some research data having to do with my postgraduate thesis, exploring the case of the member state Greece under the perspective of the initiative of 21st Century Skills Lab. And then we'll conclude with some basic marks and challenges. So let's start. When exploring the term MIL, we have to be sure and to be aware of the declarations that support this term. You see here a timeline with the main days and information about what happened. For instance, in 2018, it was an MIL program conducting and organized. So the term MIL is an umbrella term including key elements like media literacy, information literacy, and digital literacy. It is important to explore the key elements of MIL in education as learning outcomes because, for instance, having to do with information literacy, the role of educator is multidimensional. He tries to prepare students so that they can locate and access information via internet and facilitate students to recognize and express the personal need for information in a critical way. In terms of media literacy, the role of educator is also essential. because he tries to train students so that they have a mature and in-depth understanding of the function and the conditions of all sources of media via multiple opportunities for critical evaluation of the content of various sources. And for digital literacy, the educator's role is important because he encourages learners to use these digital tools without fear and to create personal writing, images, videos with awareness, understanding the digital identity of all the various sources. And of course, it is important to see the MIL in education in terms of something that gives a transformative role. As researchers emphasize on a need for study aiming to interventions for different actors like the national governments, the civil society, educational ministries. The role of a Greek educational ministry is explored in an exploratory study which will present. But before that, let's try to see if you can hear that. I'm not that sure with this recording. A video that was created with artificial intelligence. Let's play this.
Understanding media and information literacy is crucial in today's digital age. It's about knowing how to critically analyze and evaluate the information we consume. By developing these skills, we can distinguish between fact and fiction, navigate the vast sea of content online, and make informed decisions. Media literacy empowers us to question, think critically, and become responsible digital citizens. So, let's sharpen our media literacy skills and surf the waves of information with confidence.
Okay, here we go. I hope we are following that. So here is the material having to do with the exploratory study as a postgraduate thesis of 2023 that I conducted under the supervision of my lovable professor, Dr. Anamostopoulou Despina, and we'll see some of this data separately. First of all, we need to know that the EU member state of Greece, under the Greek Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs, that cooperated with the Greek Institute of Educational Policy, tried to do what programs can be organized in Greece, referring to digital use and MIL use. So the first idea was to have a pilot implementation having to do with initiative of 21st Century Skills Lab, Competencies Lab, starting at 2020 and 21, with different domains, different circles. You see here that one of these is the technological skills, mechanic skills, and scientific skills, under the thematic idea of I create, innovate, creative thinking, and initiative. So this is the whole idea, starting point in Greece, that made me explore in terms of research questions. We will see it separately here, 3 research questions, and conduct a study. The main idea having to do with the methodology is to design the research instrument, to try to see what should be included. So I have to explore all the literature review that I could read and try to conduct a study, a pilot study, so that I can finally format the research instrument and conduct the study through the EU survey platform that Dr. Anamostopoulou suggested, so that all the ethical issues will be okay. And then having some procedures having to do with disabling as the participants were educators. So let's see some of the social demographics. We'll go that a bit fast so that we'll go on with the other research questions. So here we see that all the participants were totally 60. Most of them were women. And We'll see here their age groups. Most of the participants were between 51 and 60. That shows that educators are a bit aged in Greece. We're referring to their professional status. A lot of the participants were in the field of special needs. And within their professional status, some participants were of special needs, 20 of them, and 19 of them were of the general schools. And of course, one of the ideas was to see if the participants had specific criteria like having ICT skills, and most of them had followed some of the seminars that the Greek ministry offered to them in 2 levels of ICT skills. So let's go on with our research questions. The first one had to do with how do Greek educators conceptualize or prioritize aspects of the European framework of the 21st century skill in education, and how is their perception connected to general notions of MIL education in terms of digital literacy and use. First, let me explain that the Greek idea was the implementation of 21st century skill. So that was the whole program. So that was what was examined. And of course, these data gave that the second in here was their need for digital skills, a score of 31.66% and 19 participants. This is the same to the European Commission digital competence idea. And when going on with this research question, when asking participants to define within a 5-Likert scale the implementation of the 21st century skills, most of them agreed with the role of the use of new technologies. So Greek educators agree the need for new technologies. And going on, the participants were asked to conceptualize education in digital skills. So you see, we go to the general idea about MIL education having to do with practices with digital skills. They referred to a holistic approach having to do with familiarizing pupils and inspiring them towards not only in the creation of products, but in promoting them via digital means. So you see that it's not only creating something, but promoting it and seeing it in different sources. The second research question, how do Greek educators perceive general notions of MIL education, like information literacy, media literacy, and digital literacy, the key elements that we examined? So they were asked to define the term of MIL education, and most of them defined it in a holistic way. They understood that all these 3 key elements define MIL. That is something positive, of course. And when we try to ask them to create a hierarchy among aspects of implementation in class related to information literacy separately, most of the participants supported learning outcomes that included preparation of pupils in order to facilitate access, expression of personal need for information, and the aspect of ability of learner to distinguish their needs from the consuming needs of the providers of the information. That shows some critical thinking when using and exploring information. And when going on to the second, to the same research question, we see that the participants were asked to state the priorities when examining aspects of implementation in class related to media literacy. So we take every key element separately. So here we have an amount of 41.66%, that's 25 participants, showing a priority to educate their pupils to understand the role and functions of print, media, broadcast media, and internet communication companies in democratic societies. So we have here the aspect of citizenship as well. When the participants were asked to state the priorities when examining aspects of the other key element, digital literacy, a percentage of 40 percentage of 24 participants, they said that it's number one priority to encourage learners to the use of digital tools to produce relevant products like writing, presentations, and videos. Again, the very next priority had to do with critical thinking. So you see that critical thinking comes to a second level, as a second idea. And then going to the third research question, having to do with going beyond the 21st century skills in education, what are the future perspectives and good practices related to MIL education, promoting an MIL culture of media and information literate learners, cultivating future citizens during the COVID-19 pandemic situation. So here we have um, the idea of trying to combine 21st century skills with the whole situation of COVID-19. So the participants were asked to state the level of importance related to these key curriculum areas. And first, having to do with the right for equal and without distinctions access to information and the right of freedom. And the second idea was to be related to human values. So we see high percentages admitting the high importance of all these ideas, which is important because it gives perspective and good practice to citizenship and human rights. And when they were asked to examine and state the level of importance related to aspects of MIL in terms of skills towards mature processing of content, so here we have to do with the critical thinking when having information and trying to process all this content, we see high percentages having to do with basic values to MIL and having to do with good understanding of the content life circle. It has to do with what is the content, who is the producer of the content, which is the mean that presents this content. So all of these have to do with the circle. And when going on, the participants were asked to rank and prioritize some statements related to hard and soft skills. Here we have the whole idea that educators seem to have as a priority and an emphasis on hard skills, practical skills, how to use technology, and not that much on soft skills, how to be critical with the content, the information that students have. And going on with this research question number 3, the participants were requested to declare within a 5 scale with levels of the frequency degree the implementation of MIL education in classroom. So the whole idea is to explore the educators' present status and future perspectives related to MIL education in classroom, in practical issues, having to do with the pedagogical role of MIL, because here the results show that MIL education seems to be a starting point for the promotion of values, and MIL education tries to give a tool for understanding and respect of youth, between youth and having to do with human rights. Then the third research questions, and we are nearly in the end. The results reveal that educators believe that MIL programs could arise awareness of citizenship to future citizens so that these young learners become more active in society, having to do with citizenship in this case. So the concluding marks. For Greece, MIL education is quite in a preliminary stage and phase. It is quite underestimated. Some steps in terms of pilot implementary attempts appear to be open to the educational society. But generally, the current study revealed that Greek educators are more familiarized and open to practices and practical issues and less to some things that have to do with awareness, with critical thinking, with ethical issues and effective attitude towards the processing of information. And of course, educators give a future perspective of other actions under this whole thematic area of the umbrella term MIL. And of course, there are a lot of global challenges since there was a period of the COVID-19 situation that gave a lot of opportunity to all of us to investigate, to use technology, and to try to be media and information literate future citizens, all of us as educators and as pupils. Thank you for your time and your patience. Good luck.